November 21st, 2024 meeting of the Delaware County Land Bank Board. We are recording this meeting, but unfortunately we're having some technology issues, so we won't be live streaming it, but it will be recorded and obviously available to anyone who wants it. So we have a lot of things on the agenda, and we'll get started right away with that. First action item is the approval of the electronic recording of the proceedings and minutes from August 26th, 2024. Anybody have any comments, questions, corrections? I would
move to approve.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Stage. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. Next, turn it over to our treasurer, Commissioner Merrill.
Yeah, the balance, bank balance is $226,555.29. And we have a couple of checks that have been written in October and to our consultants in the amounts of $2,793.75 and $1,125. And that's the treasurer report. And we do have a check coming in for, that we should receive the next day or two, I think, according to Karen, and that's money for the POW grant and SIOTA, yeah. So, and that's my report.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Ally, that is approved. We'll go on to, we have one invoice in hand that we need to approve, and that is Scott Gordon. Scott couldn't make it today, our attorney, but we do have an invoice for $450 for his services up to today. So, any questions or comments? Not, I would entertain a motion to approve that invoice.
So moved.
Okay, a second?
Second.
Second. Very good. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that invoice is approved. That'll bring us to the real meat of the meeting, the important stuff, and that is the folks from CEC are here today to bring us up to date on all the activities that they're working on, which is a lot. There's a number of brownfield and demolition grants that they've been very active in, and I will turn it over to Brent to bring us up to date.
Yeah, it's certainly been a very eventful couple of months here, which is fantastic. To cover, first of all, what was Diane put out a good email that summarized that pretty much all the round one grants are over. So the fiscal year 22 grants, all the brownfield grants have been done for a while, and then the demo grant has now been reimbursed. We do have one outstanding project with the city of Powell that is going to be transferred over to that grant. I haven't gotten final paperwork from the state yet on that, but they did reopen the 22 demo grant. So we've been paid, but it got reopened because there's $73,000 left. So what we did is this has been a shuffling of emails, but we took one of the proposed fiscal year 24 projects and shifted it over to the fiscal year 22, and that's one of the SIOTA street addresses in Powell, Ohio. So Jeff Tyler has been working to make sure that can get done by the 31st. So that'll close out the 22 grant. That has to be built out by December 31st. Everything seems to be going in the right direction. So with that, we have the fiscal year 24 demo grant, which that should be awarded probably about any day now. The only thing we don't really know on that is if they're going to get more. We're going to get more than the $500,000 for the Ohio Wesleyan project. But I assume we're going to get everything from ODOD is they're trying to close out all the fiscal year 24 applications before Thanksgiving. So that I'm kind of blending through tasks here. Let me just stick with the existing grants. So with the existing grants, we're waiting on the fiscal year 24 demo grant, but there are two grants that have been awarded for fiscal year 24 for the Brownfield program. That would be the 7775 Dublin Road project with Leonard, and that one's active. We're working on draw requests. We're moving forward on that. I've been working with Phoenix Environmental, who I know they're here today, to make sure we can get the first draw request done, and that's later on in the topic, well, later on in the agenda, and Justin's gonna be covering the budget amendment, the items 8 and 9 here in a little bit. And then there's another active project on 23 North that's UST project. I know that actually started kicking off this week with working on that project. And then there's one final grant that hasn't been awarded. So there's 3 2024 brownfield grants, and that's the 50 Channing Street address. And that one, we're in the final stages. There's a few things that Justin has that we're gonna get paperwork turned in by Friday, and that should be on the next list of announcements. So with that, everything, once we get the fiscal year 24 demo grant and the fiscal year, and the 50 Channing Street brownfield grant, everything will have been awarded, and we can hopefully get into some kind of normal cycle of getting the work done and proceeding with draw requests. So one of the other things that you had is that cover it sufficiently for existing grants?
Yeah, of course, you and I and Justin and others have been communicating back and forth all the intricacies of some of the grant nuances and
Right.
permissions and approvals and so on, forms that need to be signed. So I've been more current than others, but that's the kind of update I was, interested in getting. I don't know if anybody had any more detailed questions, but everything really is moving along.
Mr. Chair, if I could,
Sure.
the Laner project,
Mhm.
is there anything that would lead us to believe it's not gonna be completed within the budget that we've approved without any issue?
Not that I know at this point in time. The first draw request that's pending is gonna be for a large chunk of the budget, probably about 75% of it. But then really it's gonna be up to Leonard to finish off that project, or we'd have to look onto fiscal year
And then we're being
25.
asked to move, I think, about 12,000 of it from one line to another.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was it 12,000 or?
I don't think it's
I
12,000.
thought it was a
think
couple
it's-
thousand.
Yeah, but how that goes is when you put in those applications, they have different budget buckets, and you have to stick with that, and if you don't, you have to put in a budget adjustment to say, well, we need to move money from this line item to this line item. And they're big categories, like infrastructure or assessment or remediation with, other tasks under them. So it's just probably a 30-day process. It's a real easy process.
So it looks like it's gonna finish out then?
I believe so.
At least what we know today.
Yeah, as far as I know. Yeah, it's from the
Alright.
work that Jeff's provided, like with the summary Jeff's provided to me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I want to compliment ODOD, because occasionally I'll get a call saying we need something, and they really are working with us, trying to get us over the finish line,
Yes.
to meet all the requirements, the documents that they
Yes.
need and so on. They're not just sitting back and reacting, they're really leading us to provide the information that they require. And
Yeah.
so they've been good to work with them.
They have been very helpful, especially with that demo grant, because remember, we
Yeah.
tried to close the fiscal year
Right.
22 grant, and then we said, hold the phone, we've got $73,000 left, can we do something with
Right.
that?
And they worked with us on that.
Through the Hail Mary, and they've helped us out all along the way, so that's
Right.
been great,
Right.
yeah.
Well, it helps them too.
Well, sure it does. I mean, they're
so-
trying to get things done.
Sure.
Trying to
Yeah.
help their constituents, and, but that's not always the case when you're dealing with bureaucracy.
So the next thing that'll be coming up will be, at some point, they'll be opening the grant period for fiscal year 25, and that has the same amount of brownfield money as this last round, but it's going to be competitive, and it's a match required.
25%, right?
25%, correct. So everything that I've kind of heard through the grapevine and talking to a few ODOD people, and then talking through other clients and having them get the questions. It seems like I said, they're making the push to get all these current applications resolved by Thanksgiving. And what I expect them to do then is in December, they'll probably roll out an email saying, here's the start date for fiscal year 25. All indications have been that they're gonna give a pretty strong lead time. So once they announce it, it'll probably be about, I've heard 60 days kicked around. So let's just pretend like they get an email out on December 1st. That would put an application period of February 1st. And there'll probably be a training webinar. I don't think the guidelines are gonna change at all. So the one thing we know now is we'll refine our application process, because now we've been through all these cure questions is what they call them, when you have to provide additional information. So what Emily and I are gonna do is just come up with a real streamline. This is what we've done for other counties. We'll come up with a streamlined form. I've actually talked to Jeff about this, because he's got another project kind of in the hopper. But we'll come up with a streamlined form and a checklist so that we can, if people want to come to the county and they want a grant, we can have like, here's the information you need to provide us, and once you provide all this information, then we'll put you in order in line for that next set of applications. Because when these applications go in, I really think it's going to be a free-for-all across the state. There's no county set aside. There's big counties like Summit County, Cuyahoga County, Hamilton County. They're all getting all their stuff together now. So that's what we want to do, is just make sure if the county has people that are interested in this program, we get the word out, we set clear requirements, and then we provide that to everyone, and then set a queue for turning these applications in. Because the second that application period starts, we're going to want to get our applications in.
The ones I've been hearing about, we've, I think, largely talked about before, and that's the gas station in Ashley. And Lake Street, there's a property over in Lake Street that has some potential for brownfield work. And then there's Beagley Library at Ohio Wesleyan. I reached out to Ohio Wesleyan, have not heard back on where they are in terms of planning. Could be a demolition project, could be a brownfield project. They're not sure, and honestly, they're not as sure how they're gonna go forward with that whole area. So that one's just real uncertain at this point.
Is that building on the historic registry?
Beagley, I doubt it. It was built in the sixties. I can't imagine it would be.
So there may be asbestos. If there's asbestos, it would make it a brownfield
And there's
project.
mold.
And mold, yeah.
So it could be a brownfield.
Well, if the conversation advances, any of these projects that are considered remediation projects, one thing we've learned through this last round of applications, they kind of changed their tune on a few things. Because ODOD pushed this program out very fast, and they pushed the guidelines out very fast, and the guidelines are very short. They actually have a separate list of frequently asked questions that they've been referring to in this cure period, saying, well, the frequently asked questions are also guidelines. So it's kind of, extra guidelines. So now we know for something like a demo project, a demo abatement project, we know what we're gonna need. We would need to have the asbestos survey done, you need a demolition quote, but most importantly, one lesson I learned, we had to do a Hail Mary for another client to get a phase 1 done in 2 weeks to answer a cure question, because we had a big demo project over in Carroll County, and it was for the county, it was the county's property. And Emily had to, and she was great at it, got a phase 1 done in 2 weeks so that we could meet the cure question and get the grant.
Yeah.
So there's lots of lessons learned from 2 rounds of this program now that we're gonna take into the 3rd round, especially in the application period, so that we make the whole process easier.
Have you heard of any others in Delaware County that are potential brownfield grant applications?
I haven't really asked around, but I probably could. I mean, that could be something I could reach out to some other consultants that I know, and I know that, like I said, Jeff at Phoenix, we've been talking about him, and I've keyed him in on all this information to make sure we're having our project set up. Because really, this is gonna, as far as the future of the brownfield program, we're in a lame duck session right now. There's been a House bill introduced. It's getting kicked around. I don't know where they'll get it now, but hopefully, they're looking to permanently fund this program with Jobs Ohio's excess money. Jobs Ohio gets the liquor control money or liquor tax, and then they do what they want with it. And then they have to return back, since they're a nonprofit, it's usually $75 to $100 million a year, and they're looking to form a permanent program. But that won't be discussed until next year, and then it'll be leading up into the biennium budget at the state. And then, we're looking more for hopefully good news on that front, maybe 6 months to a year from now on permanent funding. So the point being is now is the time, if there's any brownfield projects out there that anybody knows about, any potential with this program, we should be taking a look at them now and trying to get applications together now.
I'll make sure we get a communication out to all the local jurisdictions. Everybody can spread the word, that if you know of a project.
Is it possible to have a resource of this on the county's website too, if that was something I could refer to, or?
I think we'd rather refer them to CEC.
Okay.
Honestly, rather than create a website because the website would just point them to CEC.
Yeah, well, like I said, when the ODOD formally announces it, then they'll confirm, use the guidelines again, so we can share that PDF. And then for the county's process, we'll prepare two-sheet form Word document that we can give to people to say, here's the information we need along with the checklist, so that for different, if it's an assessment project or remediation project, so we can make a form email and have 2 attachments or 3 attachments to that form email that anybody that comes to the county asking for potential funding, you just go, well, here's what we need, you get it back to us by this date, and we'll get your application in and the order it was received.
Mr. Chairman, also, if there's some way we could get communications with the larger commercial developers.
Yeah, good point.
And
Yeah, not just
see if
the
they have-
communities or
If they have
local
properties they
jurisdiction.
might do something with, if there
Yep.
are problems that they could use it. And then also, would we consider, or would we want to consider using brownfield money for residential development?
Well, I think it's a brownfield project.
I guess, what type of residential
Well,
development?
if there's a site that would be suitable for residential development and everything's ready to go, except, there's an issue there, whether it's, an abandoned tank or.
Yeah, well, I think we've actually already done that with the Sunny V. Sunny V was a brownfield project, and that's gonna turn out to be a residence.
I was thinking more of, something like MI or Don Kenny or somebody like that would do, as
Yeah.
opposed to.
Yeah, I mean, that money's there to help with brownfield remediation, and if a developer has a problem,
I know
see.
Zenios does commercial, I don't know if Kenny ever does, or MI ever does or
They
not.
do a little bit, mostly residential, but
Zenios would,
yeah, Xenios would.
obviously, because we're building something.
But yeah, no, that's a good point to bring that up to the developers as well. So, round 3 then, we'll hopefully hear in the next week or two, sounds like.
Well, yeah, I hope so. I think it'll probably be after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Because what's been happening now, we noticed in the past month a huge uptick in the review. So a lot of applications Emily and I helped out with that were towards the end of the application period, like late March up to April 1st, we started hearing back about them like wildfire. And we've gotten them all resolved now.
Right.
So I think they're getting close to the end,
Okay.
which is good.
Yeah, which is great. Okay, so Brent, is there anything you need from us? I know Justin's got a few resolutions we need to pass to get you some documentation that you need. Is there anything else?
I don't think, there's nothing that we need. I think we were working on the 50 Channing Street resolution, and I think Justin's got that completely under control.
Right.
So, no, there's nothing else that we need at this point. We'll just be we'll be rolling out, we've been working with Phoenix Environmental on the 7775 address, the Dublin Road address, to get the first draw request in. So I've got a whole format down now, what we'll be submitting to you and to Justin for approval. I know that it's a line item here to have a kind of a blanket approval for them,
Yeah.
but we're still gonna provide you the draft beforehand. So it'll be like a 2-page ODOD form, so the actual printed
Great.
draw request along with everything else we're submitting, just so you can look through it before it's submitted. So hopefully we just get into that process of we can submit you that as soon as the county approves, we submit, and then we just get in that cyclical nature with these other grants.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
very good. Well, thank you. Emily, thank you as well. I know you've been working on this a lot as well, and we appreciate that. Next item is, well, really number 6 is demolition brownfield grant update from Diane Gunther from the city of Delaware. We did get that email. I think I sent it around to everybody. Basically, the city of Delaware is completely done. Diane is completely done. She did an outstanding job getting the work done, all her grants, including Sunny V, which is now under new ownership and dramatically being renovated.
It looks different.
It sure does. And again, it's a huge success story for a really problem blighted property. So, but then all the demolition grants that Diane administered, those are all wrapped up, and we got the extra money reassigned to the next round. So, again, outstanding work. The next 3, I will turn it over to Justin if you want to walk us through what you need for the next 3 items, because these, I think, each require resolutions.
They do, thanks. Thanks, board members. Justin Avi, Director of Finance. The first item for number 7, Brent mentioned this earlier. We applied for an extension request through the Department of Development for the FY22 grant, primarily to allow for a project in the city of Powell to be completed by the end of the year. We did submit a form letter request back in September on this. I just thought it'd be a good idea just to have full board approval. So that's what we're seeking this afternoon.
Okay. And this was the 73,000 Brent was referring to. That
Correct.
got assigned to a later grant. Any further questions, comments? I would entertain a motion to approve this resolution. Grant extension.
So moved.
We got quiet all of a sudden.
I'll second it.
Gary, second. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? Justin, you have that, approve it.
Thank you.
Next one is also something we talked about that, Dave, you asked a question about, was transferring some money within the Laner application.
Thanks, board members. So in your packet, there's a screen printout of it's called a PACE report. It's essentially the budget, detailed budget for this project. Correspondence with the developer back maybe 2 months ago, they indicated they're experiencing a cost estimate increase for electrical work. So there was a request to amend this budget essentially to transfer money from cleanup and remediation to infrastructure in the amount of $2,200.
But not a total to the,
Does not amend the total budget amount, just transferring money within the budget.
okay. Any further discussion? I'd entertain a motion
Move to approve?
to, a second?
I'll second.
Second, Michelle. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, thank you, Justin. Next one.
Next packet item, number 9, relates to the overall contract award for the Laner project. It's for $400,000. What we're asking for is just a blanket approval on reimbursements, just to expedite so they're not having to wait for reimbursements. So the process is the developer will submit reimbursements. They'll get audited through CEC and then internally reviewed and then submitted to the state. Once the money comes back to the land bank checking account, we'll reimburse the developer.
And that's the way we've been doing it with others, so this is
Correct.
consistent. Any questions for Justin on that one? I'd entertain a motion to make that, approve that reimbursement process.
So moved.
A second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Gary. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Justin?
Thanks. Board members, I had one other item. Back under number 5, we had a contract amendment on the agenda with CEC, not to amend the not to exceed amount. Do you mind if I go over that one real quick?
Yep, I
Thanks.
forgot to cover that one.
Thank you.
So board members, if you recall, there was a discussion when this contract was negotiated with CEC on a 3% technology and essentially accounting fee. We did not get that removed from the original agreement. So what we did was we renegotiated with CEC to take that language out of the contract. With that, they're requesting a 3% increase in their rates. I will say this does not increase the not to exceed amount. The amendment that's in the packet, this was reviewed by Scott Gordon as approved to form, so we're requesting approval of this amendment.
Okay. So yeah, I'm just changing the buckets.
Correct.
Keeping the amount the same, total amount. Any further discussion? I would entertain a motion to approve this one as well. Contract amendment.
Move to approve.
Senator, second?
I'll second.
Second, Michelle. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Great, thank you.
All right, thanks, Justin. On to the 2025 budget. Justin, I don't know if you want to do that, or Karen? Everybody should have had everybody got a copy of the draft budget.
I guess they have. Did everybody receive a copy in their packet?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty much the same as the last couple budgets we've done, just increase the grants and things, and a lot of times those are just passed through. So I don't know if anybody has any particular questions. I did increase the insurance, because I know that was going up, and our accounting fees for Ray and Associates for the audit, and then the Julian and Grube, who does our financial statements. That's included in this as well.
Yeah, well, you know, Karen, you and I know, did a great job of getting this out ahead of time, and I looked at it, and then afterwards, I looked at it again, yesterday, and was thinking, you know, we don't have any revenue in there for Brownfield 3, do we?
Probably not, because I didn't know what amount to put in there.
Yeah,
but,
and that's just it.
Mhm.
Brent, I know, do you have any, what's your crystal ball say?
We would have to look at, we only have one project kind of in the hopper right now, so I'd have to look at the price for that, and that's about it.
You know,
Okay.
Brownfield 3 is not guaranteed, so, I mean, it's. all
Right, it's
competitive.
competitive bidding, it's 25% match, there's no $1 million guarantee for each county. I mean, that's-
Anything in the hopper, I don't think, do we? That's-
We can always amend it later.
Yeah, exactly, I mean, that's what I'm thinking, we'll know February, March timeframe if we're gonna get a grant, or likely to get a grant, and how much, so at that point, we could amend it. That was the only question I had, was we didn't have any money in there, and I was assuming it was because it's so uncertain at this point.
Right. Mhm.
Other questions? Again, pretty routine, the administrative expenses, pretty
Yes.
consistent.
Yes. Mhm.
I move to approve the budget as submitted.
Second?
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thanks, Karen. Again, good work. Appreciate that. On to, number 11 would be next, and that's, one thing we talked about at our last meeting was now that the demolition grant program is was not renewed for all the counties, you know, we do have some money, and we have a revenue stream, that we thought maybe we could implement a local, you know, a countywide demolition grant program. And, you know, it's really just a topic at this point. I don't have any suggestions, comments. I did talk to Dana McDaniel, our Economic Development Director, and he thinks it'd be a good idea to have a program like this to help him work on economic development deals. You know, that if he's got a project that he's working on and he could have a $50,000, $100,000, whatever, grant to demolish some property and help make a project more viable, he'd like to have that. So I think from an economic development standpoint, it would be good. Again, I'm interested in observations, thoughts. Again, at this point, I have nothing and no proposal to lay down or anything. I'm just interested in everybody's thoughts. Sonia, it looks like you were gonna say something.
No, I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think it could, you know, help get some of these, maybe some infill properties developed, you know, locally that
Yeah.
maybe you're just gonna sit there. So if we can, you know, if we have that little bit of extra that we could maybe help with, I think that would be great for economic development.
Yeah, we have 225,000 or thereabouts now in the bank. Don't really have any immediate plans to spend that money. And we get, with the existing DTAC funding stream, we get about 75,000 a year more. So, you know, over time, over a few years, it could continue to build up. So, well, a suggestion I would make is, why don't I put some thoughts together, and for the next board meeting, I'll bring it forward saying, here's the parameters I envision as possible structure to this program, starting sometime in '25 then.
Would it,
Okay with that?
sure, would it be for any type of building, residential or commercial? or-
Well, and that's part of the discussion. I mean, I would lean more toward commercial.
Mhm.
You know, residences are getting built without, those kinds of subsidies, but maybe, you know, that'd be a good topic to consider.
Okay.
Okay, well, I will put some structure together and, you know, we'll take the same general approach. Brent, did you have a
I
comment?
was just gonna say, it could be a good target for the next, meeting to have, to take the ODOD guidelines for their demo program, and then review them and maybe adapt them in
Yeah.
draft, and do the same with, since
And that's what I envisioned is, I'm not gonna recreate the wheel here, but
Right.
they've got the forms, they've done the process and,
Right, but we could maybe make it a goal to at least have the documents, in hand for the next week. So that could be something that's in your packet, so it gets everybody's gears turning.
right, right.
Yeah.
But I do envision it knocking down houses. If there's a house that's, blighted and needs to come down, community can appeal or apply and be granted, so. Okay, good. Number 12, the Welcome Home Ohio program is really, as we mentioned at the last meeting, was a real narrowly focused, kind of very restricted program that just didn't have a lot of interest in Delaware County. I checked with Todd Miller at the Habitat. He just couldn't make it work in a nutshell, because Habitat did work this program in other counties, but they're very different from a housing stock standpoint and housing cost standpoint. So anyway, I just want to let you know it expires in next June anyway, so at this point it's too late to probably do anything anyway. So Welcome Home Ohio, great idea. Maybe next round, if they do it again, they'll loosen some of the restrictions up and make it a little more applicable for Delaware County. Next item is Henderson Drive. This is just an FYI. This topic came up right before our last board meeting. There was a property on Henderson Drive in Concord Township that had been abandoned for several years. The owner had passed away, and the property just sat empty for years, and the taxes were piling up. So working with the treasurer's office, we got foreclosure initiated on this property because nobody could get a hold of the owner or owner's family. There were no heirs that they could find. The tax returns or tax bills were just getting returned. So the foreclosure initiated. Chris Betts is running a point on that, and it's probably a matter of a month or two, I think. It'll be ready to go to sheriff's sale. And my guess is it will be bought up quickly at sheriff's sale because it's in a nice neighborhood, and the neighbors are very interested in buying it. So, and the tax bill is, delinquent taxes are only about $11,000 or $12,000, and the property is certainly worth more than that. So I don't think it'll be any problem. But again, that's one of those things where the land bank can play a role in pushing to resolution these abandoned, neglected properties before they become a bigger problem like Sunnyview was. Let's see, I did have a couple other things under other business. The annual meeting, did anybody?
David,
A couple things if I could, get the nitty-picky one out of the way first, but in the filing, the complaint for foreclosure, on the first page, they talk about delinquent tracts, TRCKS, and I think it's tracts, TRACTS.
Where's that, Dick?
First page?
Of the agenda?
No, of the filing, the foreclosure filing, page 2.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
whoa,
page-
whoa, whoa.
They talk about delinquent tracts, and should be TRACTS.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay.
Well, that's
But-
just, we're just copying their
Right.
information, so we didn't
More
prepare that.
importantly, is this a clawback that the Department of Medicaid has a claim against?
Don't know.
Because if it is, this could get messy. They'd have to release their claim, I think, if they attach this to help pay for
Medicaid.
long-term
bills.
care or something.
Could be, but that's, the buyer, presumably it's a lien. The buyer would do a lien search and recognize there's liens that have to be paid off.
So they haven't been contacted about this or anything. It's been served like everybody else.
Yep, it's just going through the process. It's approaching sheriff's sale,
Okay.
so. Okay, I had a couple other things. Did anybody go to the annual meeting? I was not able to make it, the fall conference. Did anybody end up going? Okay, I was gonna say, we can submit, oh, well, you guys went. Any of the board members. I was gonna say, we approved spending, I think, up to $3,000, but, so I was gonna ask if anybody had any receipts. Michelle and Sandra, I did wanna verify that they're okay for another year. Michelle is okay for another year. She got a 2-year appointment. This is her first year, so she's gonna stay on for next year. Sandra is serving with the term of the mayor, so you're good for a while.
Yep,
Yeah.
and next year.
And
And I may be good until September, and then I know I won't be then, so.
maybe one new phase. Did the subrecipient agreement, do we need to act on that, Justin?
Do you mind if I present on that real quick?
Yeah, sure. We're just wrapping up here. This Homeport transaction, the Channing Street transaction, has been real complicated because the county owned the property. We were in the process of transferring it to Homeport, and Homeport is now the owner. And, you know, it just creates legal challenges, timing of legal challenges. So anyway, Justin, hopefully can have us an update. We may need to pass a resolution.
Yeah, correct. Thanks, board members. Justin Navi, Director of Finance. Brent mentioned earlier, they're going through basically an application review process at the state for the brownfield projects. We received a request back from one of the grant reviewers. They were requesting 2 items to be amended. So in the packet, one, we have a draft amendment to the original subrecipient agreement between the county, the land bank, and Homeport. This is not final, so we're waiting general counsel review and approval. Page 2 of the packet, the first item they requested, this was attachment A to the agreement originally. And if you look at page 2, after working with Homeport, there have been adjustments to the itemized grant on the project, so they've requested a change to Exhibit A for that. And then the last page, the grant rep requested a project timeline from Homeport. So what we have again, a draft of the amendment to the agreement, and then the 2 attachments for the exhibit. So what we're requesting today is to give authorization of the chairman to sign off on this agreement when it's been finalized.
Okay. Any comments, observations, thoughts? I would ask that it's the chair or vice chair.
Sure.
In case I'm unreachable for whatever reason. Because sometimes those could be need immediate turnaround. I would entertain a motion to make this authorization.
So moved.
Dave,
I'll second.
Michelle, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Got what
Thank
you
you.
need, Justin?
Yep, that's it. Thanks.
Anything else?
That's
Any
it.
other actions?
Nope.
You're a busy guy today.
Thanks.
Okay, that's it as far as I know. I don't know if anybody in the audience had any other comments or presentations. Not required, I'm not asking you to. But, you know, and again, reach out to any of us if any of you have any questions or comments, and we're always willing to respond and keep things moving along. Okay.
And next meeting's March.
Oh, yeah, that's right. March 10th is what is targeting. But, you know, depending on what happens with round 3, you know, we may want to have a meeting in January, we may want to have a meeting in February, but let's at least get one on the calendar
When do we
tentatively
have
for
to do our
March.
reorg?
I'm sorry, what
Is
did?
our reorg meeting required before April?
It's in April,
April?
yeah. So,
Yeah, I'd just like to encourage anyone that's here or listening, if you know anybody that it would be possible applicant for one of these new brownfield funding,
yeah,
get them in touch with us and let's get started, because
yep, yep.
those 3 or 4 or 5 counties will suck that dry.
Oh, I know.
So quick.
I know. Yeah, they have lots of needs, big dollars too. Okay, no further business. Everybody, I appreciate it. We stand adjourned.